they made a colossal mistake. They thought they could bring you down, that it would be easy to destabilize you. They believed you were a vulnerable target, that they could control your destiny as if they were the masters of your path. But they were blind. They didn't see what was right in front of them. You are not like the others. They targeted you, trying to manipulate your emotions, your faith, your choices, but they didn't realize that by doing so, they were stepping into a minefield, where every misstep could explode in their faces. And now, the consequences are knocking at the door. Every blow they tried to strike against you returned with even greater intensity, like an invisible boomerang carrying the energy of the one who launched it. Those who dared to attack you were surprised to realize that what they sent your way came back multiplied, transformed into something they could not control. This is the unbreakable law that governs the universe. Everything that is launched against a chosen one returns to its origin with unexpected fury. And it's not because you sought revenge, but because nature itself takes care of correcting the imbalance caused by those who dare to challenge the destiny of a being who carries the mark of the sacred. They thought they could weaken you, that their negative actions would undermine your strength and make you give up. But what they didn't understand is that every adversity you face turns into fuel for your ascension. Like a spiritual alchemist, you transmuted pain into power, fear into courage, and hatred into unconditional love. They watched, perplexed, as you, instead of bowing under the weight of the attacks, grew ever stronger, your spiritual roots digging deep into the earth, unshakable. They didn't know that attacking a chosen one is feeding the very strength they wish to destroy. Trying to strike you is like playing with fire, but not just any fire, it's playing with a flame that never goes out. Your light is inextinguishable, your presence, unstoppable. They underestimated what it means to be protected by invisible forces, guided by hands that shape destinies. The attempt to bring you down awakened a dormant energy within you, a force that was waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. Every challenge imposed on you was like a spark that ignited a spiritual fire, burning through all the limitations and barriers they tried to impose on you. You have become stronger than you ever imagined, while they struggle in the darkness they created for themselves. In trying to harm you, they opened a door to the unknown, inviting chaos and imbalance into their own lives. They ignored the signs, blinded by vanity and the thirst for control, without realizing they were walking straight into their own ruin. The universe has a peculiar way of protecting those who are essential to its balance. It allows the enemies to think they are in control, only to pull the rug out from under them at the most unexpected moment. And that's exactly what happened. They found themselves trapped in their own snares, suffocated by the shadows they conjured against you, while you rose, unscathed, in the light. Every attempt to silence you, to mute your voice, was like throwing seeds into fertile soil. What they didn't understand is that you are not just another voice among many. You are the echo of a truth that cannot be silenced. They thought they could dim your brilliance, but they forgot that true light doesn't come from outside, it comes from within. Your essence is like an eternal flame, fed by every challenge, every blow, transforming obstacles into opportunities. And the more they tried to extinguish you, the more you shone, illuminating the darkest corners of their own souls, forcing them to confront what they had always tried to hide. And what they didn't realize, chosen one, is that their attempts to strike you caused a devastating ripple effect, not just for them, but for everyone around them. They surrounded themselves with people who believed their lies, who followed their words of hate and manipulation, but now these same people are beginning to question. They are beginning to see the cracks in the facade they tried to keep intact. Those who once supported them are now pulling away, realizing that the true problem was never you. The chaos they tried to impose on your life has returned to them, shaking their foundations, their relationships, their peace. By aiming at the wrong target, they triggered a series of events that are now uncontrollable. While they struggle with the consequences of their own actions, you continue, steadfast, driven by something beyond common understanding, your purpose. That is what sustains you, what protects you, what guides you. They tried to bring you down without realizing that to defeat you, they would need to destroy a purpose much greater than yourself, something that is rooted in the very fabric of the universe. And that, they will never be able to achieve. They aimed wrong because, in trying to stop you, they were actually fighting against a destiny that has already been written. Your purpose cannot be interrupted, And the more they try, the more you advance, with a strength that no one can stop. Every blow, every attempt to destroy you, only served to reveal more of your true power. You discovered strengths you didn't know you had, abilities that were once dormant. And now, awakened, you have become more than they could bear. They expected you to shrink, but all they did was push you towards an awakening that brought you clarity and conviction like never before. Now, you know exactly who you are, what you can do, and the impact you are destined to have. And that is the true victory, not just having endured, but having discovered yourself in the process. The pain they tried to inflict on you became your greatest power. Every tear, every moment of doubt and fear was transformed into a force that few can comprehend. You took everything they threw at you and, like a true alchemist, converted it into strength, wisdom, and light. And now, this strength propels you beyond what they could imagine. While they deal with the consequences of their own choices, you use every experience as fuel to move forward, stronger, more resilient, more prepared for what's to come. They aimed wrong because they didn't realize that by trying to hurt you, they only made you even more powerful. And now, here you are, chosen one, not just standing, but standing taller than ever. Everything they tried to use against you turned against them. And what was supposed to be your downfall became the foundation of your ascent. You are in a position they could never have predicted, a position of strength, clarity, power. And those who tried to bring you down now find themselves forced to face a disconcerting truth. In trying to stop you, all they did was help launch you even further. They aimed wrong and, in doing so, signed their own failure. Now, the world will see who is truly unbreakable. And that someone is you. They aimed wrong because they didn't understand the depth of what it means to be a chosen one. They mistook your empathy for weakness, your compassion for submission. They didn't understand that while they schemed in the shadows, you walked in the light, guided by ancient wisdom, by a purpose that transcends human understanding. And it was this wisdom that allowed you not just to resist but to thrive. You left them trapped in their own illusions while you moved forward, undisturbed. What they interpreted as vulnerability was, in fact, your most powerful strength, the ability to forgive and continue, unwavering, on the path that was destined for you. Attacking you was like throwing a stone into a calm lake, expecting the waters to rage, but all they managed to do was create ripples that returned against them. Your being is a perfect reflection of cosmic balance. Any disturbance against you resonates through the universe like a cry of warning. And these ripples return with devastating force, collapsing the castles of sand they built in their own illusions. While they drowned in their own turmoil, you remained serene, floating above the chaos, a silent witness to the ruin of those who dared to challenge you. They didn't foresee that by trying to subjugate you, they would only free you from the last chains that bound you. Every attempt at control, every word of disdain, only served to break you free from old limitations, reaching new heights. They were so busy trying to diminish you that they didn't realize that, in fact, they were pushing you upward, as if, in their reckless actions, they were paving the way for your own ascent. With each blow, you became stronger, wiser, more connected to the essence of who you truly are, an indomitable being who refuses to be defined or controlled by any external force. They aimed at you, believing they could break you, but they encountered something they could not understand, a force that does not submit, a will that does not bend. What they saw as stubbornness was, in fact, the pure expression of a purpose that cannot be stopped. They tried to imprison you with their words and judgments, but they didn't know that you were made of the same material as the stars, shining brighter in the midst of darkness. Every attempt to diminish you only amplified your light, every attempt to silence you gave more strength to your voice. They realized, too late, that by trying to extinguish you, they only ignited the beacon you are for the world even more. They underestimated the impact of their actions against you, chosen one. They thought they could bring you down with subtle and treacherous attacks, but they didn't realize that your soul is like an invisible wall, built with the fragments of all the battles you have already won. What they threw against you crumbled before it even touched your essence. Every insult, every betrayal, every attempt to destabilize you turned to dust in the face of your resilience. They were not prepared for the silent, yet relentless, return of the strength that resides in you. A force that cannot be controlled, only respected. the universe seemed to mock them when they realized that by trying to attack you, they only exposed themselves to ridicule. They believed you were just another one, that they could manipulate and control you, but they didn't understand that you were a reflection of their own choices. The more they tried to strike you, the clearer it became that the true target was not you, but themselves. Their own insecurities and failures were exposed, their masks fell, revealing the raw truth of their intentions. They tried to drag you into darkness, but ended up lost in it themselves, while you, untouched, continued walking toward the light. Every time you stood up, stronger and more determined, it was like a silent slap to those who tried to bring you down. They expected to see your strength fade, your faith break, but what they witnessed was exactly the opposite. You rose like a giant before their weaknesses, illuminating with your presence all the shadows they projected. And so, your growth became an affront to their mediocrity. Unable to comprehend the magnitude of the mistake they made by targeting you, they were forced to watch as you ascended, unstoppable, unattainable. When they attacked you, they didn't know they were meddling with forces that transcend the visible. Their attacks turned against them like storms generated by a wind they couldn't foresee. It's as if you had an invisible legion around you, spiritual guardians who responded to every attempt to harm you with unshakable protection. They aimed at you thinking it would be an easy victory, but they awoke a power far greater than any of them could conceive. And now, they find themselves lost in a maze of consequences they themselves created, victims of their own presumption. They made the mistake of confusing your kindness with submission, your calmness with weakness. But you are like a rock in the midst of a stormy sea, unshakable, indifferent to the waves that crash against you. In every attempt to subjugate you only served to highlight even more your strength, your integrity. They faced something they couldn't control, a presence that transcends common understanding. And when they realized this, it was already too late. They were trapped in their own web of illusions, unable to untie the knots they created with their own hands, while you, serene, watched the chaos unfold around you. They aimed wrong because they never understood that by trying to destroy a chosen one, they are not just facing a person, but an entire purpose, a destiny that cannot be altered by human hands. It's like trying to extinguish a star in the middle of a constellation, a task not only futile but impossible. Their efforts, though intense, were like fists thrown against the current, dissipating without causing any impact. And while they fought against the inevitable, you moved forward, tireless, ever closer to fulfilling the mission that was entrusted to you since the beginning of time. Before we continue, if you feel that the path can be lonely and challenging, our ebook was made for you. It offers valuable insights to help you understand your gifts and navigate your spiritual journey with more clarity. By purchasing it, you also gain access to our exclusive Discord community, where you can share your experiences with other chosen ones in a welcoming and understanding environment. Don't miss the opportunity to connect and receive exclusive content. The link is in the pinned comment below this video. They erred because they couldn't see beyond appearances. They only saw the surface, judging you by what their mortal eyes could perceive, without ever understanding the depth of who you truly are. They thought they could measure you with their limited scales, but you are an ocean, vast and unfathomable. Your waters, calm on the surface, hide powerful currents that drag and destroy anything that tries to anchor you. And in their attempt to sink you, they were the ones who ended up submerged in their own illusions, swallowed by the depths they failed to respect. Every attempt to bring you down was, in reality, an invitation for you to surpass yourself. They thought they were weakening you, but in truth, they were forging you, like steel that becomes stronger when tempered by fire. Every challenge faced, every betrayal overcome, every fall and rise served only to polish the jewel that you are, making you brighter and more resilient. And now, when they look at you, they no longer see the person they tried to harm, but a being they themselves helped create, a being that has become a shimmering reflection of the very strength they tried to extinguish. They erred in thinking they could control what cannot be captured. You are like the wind, flowing freely, defying any attempt to imprison you. They built walls, set traps, but you always found a gap, an exit that no one else could see. Every attempt to constrain you proved futile, because you do not belong to this world of limitations and mediocrity. Your essence is freedom, and any attempt to imprison you only reveals the smallness of those who tried. They aimed wrong, for they tried to hold in their hands something that was born to fly. By the time they finally understood the mistake they had made, they were already too immersed in the consequences of their own actions. They underestimated the cost of challenging a chosen one, believing they would emerge unscathed from their attempt. But now, they find themselves surrounded by the shadows they evoked, lost in a labyrinth of their own creations. Meanwhile, you continue, untouched, walking towards the destiny that was set for you, leaving behind those who tried to stop the inevitable. They aimed wrong, not because you were invisible, but because your true strength was always beyond their comprehension. In their attempts to harm you, they awakened forces that were dormant. What they didn't know is that you carry with you a protective network that goes beyond what the eyes can see. Their attacks were like stones thrown against an invisible shield that not only protected you but also reflected every blow back to those who launched them. Now, they find themselves cornered, dealing with the consequences of their own actions, unable to understand how something that seemed so simple turned into a nightmare from which they can't escape. Their mistake was believing they could touch the untouchable, harm the invulnerable. They underestimated your connection with the divine, thinking they could strike you without repercussions. But they didn't know that you were aligned with a force that transcends human understanding, a force that protects those who walk with truth and purpose. The attempt to hurt you was like trying to extinguish a flame protected by the wind, impossible and, in the end, futile. What they didn't foresee is that their very attempt to bring you down would put them in direct confrontation with something greater than anyone. Every step they took to try and bring you down, chosen one, was as if they were digging their own grave, without realizing that you were like a deeply rooted tree. The more they try to uproot you, the more firmly you hold to the ground. They thought they could move you, displace you from your path, but they didn't know that each attack only served to strengthen your roots, connecting you even more with your essence and purpose. In the end, while they writhed in despair, trying to justify their actions, you stood firm, unreachable, anchored in soil that cannot be shaken by winds of ignorance and hate. In aiming at you, they were actually aiming at a mirror that reflected all their own weaknesses. Every attempt to strike you only brought to light what they refused to see in themselves. You, without any conscious effort, exposed their insecurities, their fears, and their own shadows. And that, more than anything else, destabilized them. They expected you to break, but what shattered was the facade of their own illusions. And when they realized that in trying to hurt you, they had only hurt themselves, it was already too late to turn back. They aimed wrong because they didn't understand that true strength lies not in who attacks, but in who withstands. And you withstood everything, with a serenity that disarmed any strategy. Like the calm before a storm, your silent and constant presence was the greatest response to all their advances. They expected rage, expected a reaction, but what they found was an impenetrable silence, a wall of peace that absorbed all the violence they tried to impose on you. And so, they found themselves defeated by the simple fact that you refused to play their game. They erred in thinking they could extinguish the flame that burns within you. Every attempt to weaken you was like pouring fuel on the fire of your determination. The more they tried to stop you, the stronger you became, the more intense your light. What they thought was the beginning of your downfall turned out to be the catalyst for your rise. And now, bewildered, they watch your light expand, illuminating all the shadows they tried to cast upon you. There is no stopping someone who turns every blow into a spark to burn even brighter. They believed they could silence you, but didn't know that your voice doesn't depend on words. It echoes in silence, in actions, in the way you exist and impact the world around you. They tried to mute you, but what they managed to do was amplify your presence. Your truth, which they tried to bury, sprouted like a seed, growing and blossoming, spreading like a strong wind that carries change. They aimed wrong, thinking that by silencing you, they would erase you, but they discovered that your power goes far beyond any voice that can be silenced. Every attempt to limit you was, in fact, an invitation for you to break through all imposed barriers. They challenged you, believing they could define your limits, but you showed that there are no chains capable of binding a spirit that is truly free. When they tried to bind you to their own expectations, you broke them all, proving that no one can decide where the potential of a chosen one ends. They aimed wrong, thinking they could restrict you, but each attempt only proved that there is no prison that can hold someone whose essence is freedom. In their attempts to strike you, they forgot that you carry not only the strength of an individual, but the legacy of all those who came before you. Each attack awakened the voices and energies of your ancestors, a force that echoes through time and that rose to protect you. They thought they were fighting against one, but found themselves confronted by an invisible legion, a lineage of protection that cannot be destroyed. And so, their attempts dissolved in the face of the collective strength of all those who guide and sustain you, rendering their actions nothing more than empty echoes. They aimed wrong by believing they could shake your faith. They thought that by putting you in challenging situations, they could break the trust you have in something greater, but they didn't know that your faith is forged in fire, unbreakable like steel. Every challenge was like a test, and you passed them all, not just intact but even stronger. They watched, perplexed, as you turned every difficulty into a step towards your own spiritual evolution. And now, unable to understand what truly drives you, they find themselves confronted by the reality that you cannot be shaken by what they tried to use against you. By attacking you, they believed they were isolating you, but in truth, they gave you the gift of solitude, a space where you reconnect with what is most deep and true within yourself. What would be a punishment for many, for you was an opportunity for introspection and growth. They tried to push you away, but only managed to bring you closer to your own essence. And when you emerged from that silence, you were stronger, more centered, more aware of who you really are. They aimed wrong, for they didn't realize that true power is born from the encounter with oneself. Every plan devised against you was like a spider's web that unraveled at the first breath of truth. They thought they would trap you in their snares, but you always found a way out, a path they did not foresee. Your mind is like a labyrinth of possibilities, always one step ahead, always seeing beyond the obvious. And while they got lost in their own schemes, you moved forward, untying the knots they tried to impose on you. They aimed wrong because they underestimated your ability to see through illusions, to escape any trap with a lightness they will never possess. They tried to suffocate you with their own doubts and insecurities, but didn't know that you turn every doubt into certainty, every fear into a drive to move forward. They aimed wrong because they didn't understand that for a chosen one, challenges are not obstacles but opportunities to prove, to themselves and the world, that there is no force capable of stopping someone whose spirit is unbreakable. And so, every doubt cast against you was like fuel for your confidence, every attempt to make you question yourself resulted in an even deeper understanding of your true nature. They underestimated your adaptability, believing they would corner you, but you are like water, molding to any container, flowing through any gap, always finding a way. In trying to imprison you, they forgot that there is no prison for one who adapts and grows in any circumstance. They aimed wrong, for they challenged you on a terrain they do not understand, that of absolute resilience, the capacity to transform in response to any pressure. And while they struggled to contain you, you expanded, breaking through every imposed limit. They aimed wrong in thinking they could defeat you with brute force, without realizing that your strength comes from a place they cannot access. Your courage is born from a connection with something greater, something that sustains you when everything around seems to crumble. They tried to break you, but encountered a spirit that strengthens in adversity, that rises with every fall. And now, faced with the failure of their attempts, they wonder how it is possible for someone to keep rising, to keep moving forward, even after all they tried to do to stop them. The answer is simple: you are driven by a force that cannot be contained. Every attack they launched against you was like throwing stones into a crystal-clear lake. They expected to create waves, but all they saw were the stones sinking into oblivion, never truly reaching you. You absorbed the attempts to harm you and let them pass, as if nothing could really shake you. They aimed wrong because they mistook your calm for indifference, when in fact your peace is a conscious choice, a decision not to be dragged down by the negativity of others. And so, while they drown in their own frustration, you move forward, untouched, as serene as ever. They erred in believing they could reduce you to less than what you are, but they didn't know that you carry with you the vastness of the universe, an unlimited potential that grows with every attempt at limitation. The more they try to restrict you, the more you expand, the stronger and brighter you become. They aimed wrong because they didn't understand that the true power of a chosen one lies in their ability to transcend any barrier, to reinvent themselves in the face of every new challenge. And so, while they get lost in their own limitations, you continue to grow, to evolve, like a star that refuses to stop shining. Every attempt to bring you down only further strengthened your essence. They believed they could weaken you, but like a diamond that becomes more valuable under pressure, you shone even more intensely. You turned pain into power and, while they got lost in their own failures, you rose, unshakable, showing that adversity is a powerful ally for those who know how to use it to their advantage. They tried to destabilize you with doubts, but found an unbreakable faith, which made you dive even deeper into your truth, becoming more and more aware of your purpose and inner strength. They thought they could stop you by placing obstacles in your path, but every stone became a stepping stone towards new heights. You used challenges as a springboard to grow even more, proving that nothing can stop one who turns difficulties into opportunities. Now, while they stumble over the traps they created, you walk firmly, aiming for a horizon only you can reach. They aimed wrong in thinking they could destroy what is indestructible. You are a purpose in motion, indomitable and eternal, and nothing can stop what was born to be invincible. Now, before we conclude, remember to check the first pinned comment if you want to discover more about your journey as a chosen one. Our ebook offers deep guidance to illuminate your path and strengthen your understanding of your gifts. In addition, you will be part of our exclusive Discord community, where you can find support and share your experiences. Don't miss this opportunity to access exclusive content and connect with other chosen ones. If you recognized yourself in every word, felt your heart beat with this message, it's time to join this community of chosen ones who never give up. Leave your like on the button below and subscribe to the channel to be part of this incredible community and join us on this journey of discovery, growth, and power. We want you to be part of this movement that does not bow down to difficulties, that turns challenges into opportunities. And if you want to further support this work, so we can continue creating content that deeply resonates with your soul, consider buying us a coffee through Buy Me a Coffee. Your contribution helps us keep bringing quality content and the best for you. I also invite you to watch the recommended video on the screen or dive into the Secrets of the Chosen Ones playlist. Here you will find answers, insights, and teachings that can completely transform your perspective on who you are and the power you possess. Because being a chosen one is not just a title, but a mission. Remember, the true strength of a chosen one is not measured by the challenges they face, but by the impact they leave. May your journey always be guided by light, courage, and truth.